This is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and share. I have been thinking about how to incorporate kale into my dishes more often. Now this is one of my experiments exploring how to combine kale with ground pork, cannellini beans and tomatoes. My interest in kale began when my wife started to plant kale in the garden. I also realized that kale is a nutritional powerhouse. The idea is based on my basic vegetable templates to create a dish that is similar to other dishes that my family and I have enjoyed in the past. Ground pork is always a good starting point for this kind of dishes. It provides a nice basic meat flavor to counterbalance other vegetables that have a strong flavor of their own. For example, ground pork and eggplant or Brussels sprouts works well. In order to achieve an impact on a dish, a very small amount of ground pork can provide significant flavor to a dish. Now for this dish, I use 8 ounces of ground pork. I believe ground pork probably is the most flexible meat that can go into almost any dishes. It is also a meat that could be seasoned differently to take on distinct flavor characteristics. I'm going to season the ground pork with a strong paprika and lemon pepper flavor, also with some other seasoning agents from my masala dabur. I use my seasoning agents in an intuitive manner, which I call it flavor chasing. I really enjoy this process in creating the flavor that I like. By adding the seasoning agents at this point, they coat and blacken the ground pork to create an intense flavor. I next add the kale, which I cut up into small pieces. Now it might seem like a lot of kale, but they cook down to less than 1/5 of its original volume. After stir-frying the kale for about a few seconds, I start to add water to steam the kale because I sense that the kale has a tough texture and it will take some water to soften it. At the same time, I'm doing some spot cleaning to remove the residues of the ground pork as well as the seasoning agents that might have stuck and burned to the bottom of the wok. The kale cooked down rapidly, greatly reduced in its original volume. I did a taste test at this point. I find the leaves are soft enough for my taste preference. I next added half can of cannellini beans and 1 can of diced tomatoes to the wok. I would like to add some beans to this dish because I thought it would match the kale. The reason I choose cannellini beans because this is what I have in the pantry. I probably would select black bean if it is available. I intend to create a spaghetti sauce-like flavor for this dish, and this is the reason that I added the diced tomatoes. The next step is to fine-tune the flavor of this dish. I start to add a little bit sugar to create a sweeter taste for this dish. So what I'm doing is really trial and error as I'm going along in flavoring this dish. At this point, I add some water to create a light sauce for this dish. So I continue with the taste testing of this dish, and I decided I add some white vinegar to give more tanginess to the dish. Then I realized that I need to balance it with more sugar. Since I'm cooking this dish for the first time, I'm going back and forth looking for the right flavor of the dish, at least for me. I then decided that I need to add some salt to balance the sweetness and sourness of the dish. This process represents the essence of my flavor chasing, a constant tasting and constant adjustment. Okay, I think I got the flavor of the dish where I want it to be. And next, I'm going to sprinkle some cornstarch to thicken the sauce. I also garnish the dish with some colored bell pepper. Okay, now the dish is done. The total cook time was about 10 minutes. This dish is an exercise of exploring a new ingredient using templates that I'm familiar with. Therefore, I know the dish will not be a disaster. But however, there's a possibility that it might turn out great. So what is the verdict of the dish? Now the flavor of the ground pork was excellent. The kale was at about the right texture except the stem, which is still a little too crunchy. The overall flavor of the dish is pretty good. However, I would probably replace the cannellini beans with edamame instead. This dish is a good demonstration of how to incorporate new ingredients into some of my existing templates. Now this experiment has allowed me to explore the texture and flavor of kale. Now it has given me ideas how to use it in other dishes with other ingredients. As you can see here, my fast cooking system is designed for my continuing growth in my cooking with flavor chasing, advanced prepping, stir frying, and template-based cooking. This way, I'm able to further expand the repertoire of my dishes. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please click like, subscribe, and share.